everybody.
What?
Welcome to Delve Requisite. This week, I said going live and then counted to 3 in my head while everybody word vomited incessantly for that time. And then when they finished, I actually hit the go live button. So here we are. Happy Tuesday. We are here for a Fool's Errant episode of Delve Requisite right here on Proficiency Bonus. Quick shout out to our sponsors, Little Dragon Corp and Cardboard Castle. You can check them out by typing !Little Dragon or !CCG in chat at any point during tonight's stream. You'll get a link to those websites. Little Dragon Corp, of course, is a dice company. If you use our code bonus at checkout, you'll get 15% off your order. Thank you, Little Dragon Corp and Cardboard Castle. Oh, and thank you to Olive, who has decided that right now at the beginning of stream is the time it's time to start barking.
Yeah. And she mysteriously stopped.
Now she's speaking Spanish.
Is that worse?
No, she's still sort of like, she's toned it down out there. Now she's just like, she can't decide if she's still mad or not. Anyway. This week brought
She
to you
gotta
by
get Cardboard Castle.
Yeah, this week brought to you by Cardboard Castle, Little Dragon Corp, and Olive. Use code bonus with Olive. It doesn't give you anything; it gives her treats. That is the promo code that she has worked out. I don't know what to tell you. So, recap. You guys are now not very far out from the location of the Estelgath, the maximum security, impregnable, inescapable prison of the Ignian Empire. You are on a mission to get inside somehow and retrieve a prisoner who is currently inside the Estelgath, an ex-general of the Brotherhood of Artanis, a former mentor and patron of party member Zintris, one Eniana Viren, otherwise known as Ygraine, one of the 5 generals of Artanis. You are traveling with Rogers and the boys, who, let me do this real quick. Boop. Pop them up on screen. I sent you guys this recently. I don't think I sent it where Brittany had access, though, so I will put that in chat for you guys. So you didn't see it. I've been futzing around with some AI generated art combined with then like editing and painting to correct it myself, which has returned some results of it. Makes it a lot easier for me to make art assets for this show than doing them all by hand. So that is Rogers and the boys, Rogers, Carlisle, and Rana. You've been traveling with them because Rana has been a prisoner in the Estelgath and is potentially one of the only people ever to escape it. She has promised you guys basically a way back out once you guys have gotten in and accomplished your goals. In exchange, her price is that while inside, you help her to kill a person who tortured her and is responsible for numerous atrocities inside the Estelgath. A person known as the Butcher, or otherwise known as Pendragon. At this point, we'll kind of turn over sort of where we left off. Functionally, you guys are, like, the travel portion of this is done. Once you kind of, like, make your game plan and proceed with your, however you're going to approach the Estelgath, we're just going to go right into that. So we sort of pick up inside your collapsible stagecoach where you guys are gathered around. Rana has just explained all of this information about the Estelgath and about how the true prison is in some sort of a, like, pocket dimension or different like realm than the real world inside the fortress itself, and kind of gave you some of the details about the approach to it in the inside. So after kind of a few moments of silence, when Rana says, he goes by Pendragon, Rogers kind of breaks the silence and he goes, okay, you jabronis, what's the plan?
Well,
Mailar lets out a curse in Draconic.
Isn't your friend here the one that's been inside that should be telling us how to get in?
Rana says, I already told you, the only way in is through the passage or portal or gateway inside the fortress.
Okay, when you got out of that, how did you get away from the edifice, the dwarven fortress portion?
When I escaped the Estelgath, you mean?
Yes.
She says, I just realized that the mushroom in Walter's background is very slightly moving and animated, and I hate it so much.
It's got a little face.
So line.
I hate it so much that we might have to cancel the stream forever.
God damn it, Walter.
Tune in tonight where we canceled Jason.
I could do that myself.
She says, as I tell you, the exit from the place where the Estelgath is, as far as I know, only I am capable of accomplishing. Without getting into too many details that will make much more sense after you have seen it, I left the fortress from inside the other version of the world, and I found my way to an exit back to ours.
Okay, so we can't go that way.
She says, no, as far as I know, that the exit that I used is only one way. We cannot enter back from there.
Okay, so the way I see it, we got two options. One, see if we can catch a prisoner transport or supply transport that's on its way there, take it over, use that to make a semi-stealth approach. Two, whip the horses for all the worth and charge in.
Rana seems to be contemplating. Roger says, if I am not mistaken, the Estelgath has a pretty notorious reputation for being inescapable and impregnable. Whipping the horses for all they're worth and trying to charge in seems like a super good way to get real dead, before we get within a mile of the fortress.
I agree. So, there's garrison there. They got to get supplies. They got to get them on a regular basis as well.
Does the stagecoach have a stealth option? Hold on a second.
Well,
Features and traits.
Does not have a stealth option outside of collapse it and put it in your pocket.
Yeah.
But Rana did tell you last time, it is sort of rumored that the Estelgath has means to pierce the veil of any method of magical concealment. So like you can't turn invisible and like try to approach it. Apparently they can see through that from the watchtowers on the fortress.
So why don't we just go walk up to the front door and ask them to let us in?
That's
We can't outrun it. We can't, like, if we just walk up and say hi, like, we're not, you know.
I don't think anybody will survive long enough to get to the door and knock if we do that.
Hey, Walter, let me ask you a quick question. Are you an idiot?
I mean, do you have other options? I'm not seeing any other option but to just walk into the front door and hope for the best.
Your option is, hey, kill us.
Well, not necessarily. We don't know what kind of defenses they have. They just know that they can be seen, and it's otherwise known to be impenetrable. But there's a lot of things that are known to be something that have, you know, it's just a rumor that keeps people away. Nobody wants to go there.
I, for one, am not super interested in putting to the test whether the reputation of the Estelgath as a deadly, inescapable prison is like, oh, it's a big fibberoonie we told to keep people from trying it. Because I would prefer not to become a skid mark on the ground a quarter mile away from the door. I
have a plan that might work. It might be crazy and dumb, but it might be so crazy and dumb it works.
Which is?
All right, lay it on
I
us.
got the idea from 5 seconds ago when I just asked Walter if he was an idiot. I got a very idiotic idea. What if we pose, or I pose, if nobody else wants to get in on the shenanigan, as traveling showmen? We're world famous escape artists, and we're coming to test to see if the Estelgath is escapable.
They did that episode 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry.
Zintrus is just making a lot of noises. Like I don't.
Rana says, I should point out. I believe Mr. Alar is correct. The approaches are one of two. Try to subvert or otherwise dodge the defenses long enough to make an entrance into the fortress and get ourselves to the inside, or make an entrance that allows us to be let in. And Roger says, so the options are either get into the Estelgath or get sent to the Estelgath. And Rana says, I will point out that trying to break into the Estelgath may allow us to enter with equipment. But it should be known that once on the inside, entering fully armed and equipped will in all likelihood be of a significantly greater danger to us than entering under cover as prisoners would.
What if a couple of us are prisoners and a couple of us remain armed? I'm attached to a prisoner inside those walls. Rana, you were a prisoner in those walls. Enough of us have bounties on our heads. Couldn't we just be said that we were sent to be prisoners and some of us are the ones delivering them? We have Ignian armor.
It is certainly a bluff that could work. Though I believe Elar is correct, we would need to intercept a already scheduled convoy bringing inmates. And remember, if any of us pose as guards or not inmates, the only ones who go through that portal into the Estelgath truly are the ones to be incarcerated in there. We would have to leave people on the outside who would then have to make their escape another way. At least one. Rogers says, okay, so let's say we wait until a prisoner transport is on its way in. What's the approach from there? We try and bribe the caravan driver, be like, hey, what if you put like 8 extra people in your caravan and sent them to jail and don't say nothing to nobody? Do we take them out and replace them? If so, with who? And what do they do after the rest of us jamokes get put into the prison? And if we're going to try and conceal stuff on ourselves, how do we do that? And if we're not going to try and conceal stuff on ourselves, what do we do with all our stuff while we go to the inside? I imagine we're going to get searched pretty thoroughly when we go in there if we're doing so as prisoners. And Rana nods, confirming that.
No good at bluffing. So I can look the part, but as soon as I open my mouth, usually they can see through a trick.
For whatever it's worth, to put it to put the skill sets on the table, between Rana and myself, we are pretty adept at making people go nap time.
Doesn't work
that
on
does
elves,
not
does
work
it?
on elves. So if we get an elven caravan driver or something, we unfortunately are fucked. But
Well, there are humans that serve in the Ignian army, and half-elves are resistant, but not.
this is just something to keep in mind. We've got some. It's a bit of a special. Well, he like looks at you guys. He goes, "You guys remember? We tried to do it to you a bunch, and your gnome friend counterspelled us a bunch of times, and then you almost killed me in a tavern."
Well, we succeeded.
did kill you in a
undid-
tavern.
undid-
Not
Oh, he
this
says-
again,
he
for the
says-
love of God.
He says, "Yeah, just a little though. I got better, so I mean, you know."
All right.
Listen, Walter's like pinching his own nose at like that idea that he had, and he takes the bag of holding, and like takes like just kind of like dangles it out like prison pocket.
Gross.
Oh, don't say
never again. Holy shit, terrible.
God.
What a terrible thing you've said. I feel
Just reach.
I think we should just go home.
we
Just
actually
reach up in there and be like, Rogers and the boys, and pop out.
Rana says I would not count on being able to recall things to and from the bags from here and from inside the Estelgath.
Yeah. If this
So
if this
either
isn't this
he
isn't our
alters-
world, then the rules of magic that we know may not apply. I
So
mean,
the
we don't know.
bags are essentially useless in there. So just pretend we don't have them right now.
All right. So
Plan without the bags.
If you can figure
Well-
out a way to get them in with us, they would work inside, I am sure. But as a means of
I think to keep
transport
a bag
from
on us.
Yeah,
from
from
here
out here to in there.
from here to out there would likely not be possible.
If we were able to get a transport, and if we could either get lucky enough that it's humans that we can make go nap time, or elves that we just take out and we just take it over and we
Okay.
add ourselves as prisoners,
who gets left behind?
one of the prisoners that we're not going to commit to the Estelgath, we let them all go, and we have one of them ride us up.
That's a hell of an ask.
If we're giving them their freedom, you think they wouldn't want to screw over the place that's about to condemn them to death or worse?
I think
Maybe, but it's a hell of an ask. Please take
time.
us into the prison that
Wartime.
you were going to be sent to, and then talk your way out. But
it's
not a bad idea.
it's a
Just
solid thought. He says
That's
I
who gets
tend
left out.
I tend to agree with Ayla. I not that I don't think somebody might not be willing to do it, but there's a lot of what ifs in that scenario. Are they a good enough actor to get away with it, even if they want to help us? They are, theoretically, kind of a scumbag. They're being sent to jail forever. What's to say that they might not screw us over? Any other number of things. He says,
Okay.
I would feel more secure if we go with that plan. If one of us is the outside man. Somebody is going to have to, unless we bury it in a hole somewhere and come back to it, somebody's going to have to keep track of all of our shit. Anything that we bring to that fortress, if the play is to go in there as prisoners, anything we have on us that they find, they're going to take.
Okay, so once again, we're left with who gets left behind.
Well, Rana wants in.
Vrana's
I
the only
want
way in and out.
Who has to go in is the real question.
Carlisle is like, I think we all know that I need to be the one who stays on the outside. Ronna's the only one who can get Joe out. Rogers is not gonna not go with her. And in all fairness, any one of you people is worth several of me in a fight. I can knock somebody around pretty good, but you all are doing magic and blowing up warehouses and
I believe
everything
you were
else.
part of that, Carlisle.
He says,
On the other hand, he is a hell of a wagon driver, so if he's got to run,
Yeah, he is the best getaway driver we've had.
Walter's gonna use something that he got near the beginning of the campaign.
oh
I
shit.
think might work. I'm going to take one of the rings off of my finger, and I'm going to hand Carlisle one of my status signets
Ooh, interesting.
with the
Takes it.
instruction that it should resize to fit your finger. Should I cease to be, and you will know through that magic ring, you need to leave. Get to Valand however you can. This carriage will act as your safety, at least as passage.
Alar's gonna hand over one of the 2 teleport scrolls as well. If things are really hairy, open this. It'll get you back to Terra Libra. Report back what happened.
We're gonna find out. Walter's gonna go down one time, and then he's gonna teleport back to Terra Libra immediately with our getaway car.
Well, we have means of getting out ourselves. Alar's would theoretically have the other teleport scroll. You've got the staff, so.
So yeah,
All right.
that's something just as a thought.
All right. So anything that we don't desperately need, we leave in this because it can stay in the stagecoach. That gets shrunk down. Carlisle has it on its person.
Rana
This has a
says,
100-foot range, unless the bags count as a. Okay.
It's fine. We did a thing. You've made a point. If y'all die in there, the campaign's over, so it becomes a moot point as to if it works.
That's true. That's fair. I mean, look, maybe the bags count as a linked space that's equal to less than 100 feet.
So you kind of give that to Carlisle. He and Rogers kind of like move away from the group and like begin to have a conversation between the two of them. And Rana says, "I will remind you, if our plan is to attempt to enter disguised as new inmates, we will be searched. If you do not think you can hide whatever you would like to bring sufficiently, and you are not willing to risk it being discovered and taken from you, I would not bring it. As a reminder, once on the inside, if the population of the Estelgath gets wind that you have smuggled in arms, armor, magical items, things of that nature, you will be in a much, much worse position than if we enter anonymously and do not draw any attention to ourselves. Think carefully about what you wish to try and smuggle in, if anything." And then she says, "I will leave you now to make your final preparations." And Osrius, she looks at you and she says, "Would you take the first watch with me again tonight, Osrius of Madrokia?"
Sure.
She nods and she like goes up a little staircase that opens a door that you know leads out to like the coachman's box where you would like drive the carriage.
Okay.
And that leaves you guys alone, just amongst yourselves. Rogers and Carlisle like go into another room to talk, and Rana leaves the space, leaving you guys to yourselves.
So we would be able to hide as far as weapons would go. Dagger, maybe the collapsible rapier. It's going to take a lot of tricks to do it. I might try to keep a couple of lockpicks on me, but
Well, I ain't getting anything in there. Boots ain't gonna be able to go. Weapons ain't gonna be able to go. All I got then is just hot hands and my fists.
Yeah, I have the I have to make sure that this ring and this amulet at minimum come in.
I might be able to help you conceal those. All right. Anything else really, really small that you all are trying to conceal?
Basic little things for some of my spells, but I can do that, I think. The copper wire for message, little thing. And I'm already, Sintress is already like weaving them into the braids in her hair and making her hair look kind of like rat's nesty almost. So that's like kind of hard to search.
Okay.
Like you can't
Rom?
like.
You got anything that you
Thing.
please tell me it's not the band door.
No. I think, and probably Bron can handle it himself. I'm going to attempt to smuggle in that trick coin that I've had for 1,000 years.
Okay.
In case we need to con some people and get some gambling. Because aside from, like, same with Centris, like, the random little spell component stuff, because everything I really need is...
Yeah, a lot of my stuff is
Magic.
small.
Could I get
So
the
no-
bracers? Could I get the bracers in there?
They're magical, right?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Okay, then
I
I
don't have
really.
magic
the-
ore to make them, not appear magical, unfortunately.
Well, then I'm gonna be a bag of useless almost, because AC is then 16, and I got nothing.
Still better than
My
mine.
AC is 12 without the armor
Okay,
wiring.
well, I don't have a lot of magic now, do I? I rely on melee.
I was gonna say,
Doesn't-
Oz and I have
I
this-
might be
doesn't
able to
matter.
hide a
at that
dagger
level.
on you at best, but
well,
that's
I mean, this is a DM comment. I will say, Osrius is probably going to be the best off in this scenario.
Yeah.
As Osrius is the best equipped to like not have any equipment, and like if y'all have to beat the shit out of some people.
yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have
mean,
a higher
look-
AC than the rest of us, and
Look, I would love to beat the
Look,
shit out of
I
people,
think-
but I would love to beat the shit out of people with an AC of 18 than a 16.
So I have a
That's a shirt.
question
I'd love to beat the
about
shit out of people, but I'd love
this,
to beat
and
the
if
shit out of
this is-
people.
if this is something I have to ask Rana, I will. But my basic thought is, in my head, picturing our size differences for this purpose, Oz's bracers are probably about the size of Zintrus's legs.
Sure.
Can I conceal them on like my underneath like my boots, like to try to sneak them in? Like they're not gonna take my plain ass leather boots off me, are they? Or they make me walk around barefoot? Like
gonna
how
get prison
stripped
jumpsuits?
down do we get?
She tells you that when she was brought here, she was like 14 when she got sent to the Estelgath. They didn't like strip everybody down and give them like orange jumpsuits. They did like very thoroughly search everybody, and they did wave like a
something with the
wand
magic.
over them that she assumes was to like detect anything they were trying to hide on them. She nobody in her group the wand didn't do anything, when she got admitted.
Magical
So-
TSA.
So she doesn't. Yeah.
A magical fucking
okay. I'm gonna
TSA,
check
right.
with Rogers. Does he have Rana, or Carlisle have or know the spell Magic Aura?
No.
No.
Shit.
Okay. Well. Okay. Well then.
Boots
two-
off. Magic
Boot-
tablets have to be in a separate tray.
I was
Separate
trying to
tray.
think whatever I could
Put
for
it
you.
in the bin.
That's
Put it in the bin.
that's gonna make getting the ring a bit tighter.
The ring and the amulet are no bueno then, because they
so
are
I'll-
both magical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll
They're
make
not.
it easier for everybody on my end of being like, I'm pretty much gonna go in butt ass naked, no magic, nothing, and it will just be fist and magic.
It's like stripping his clothes off and like, you don't have to literally be butt ass naked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like you just wear like your clothes.
No.
That's
Either,
like, I
either
misunderstood.
something or nothing. They're either gonna get an eyeful or tell me to wear clothes. And I'm gonna
Oz is
say,
gonna distract them with how
hey,
massive he is in every
Hey,
which way.
that's
Alright.
absolute. I'm going.
We're all
Hey,
gonna run through.
fair is fair.
If you
Hey.
listen, if you guys want to
Fair
go
is
for a
fair
play,
in this case.
if you guys want to go for a play where you try to sneak in some magical items using Goliath dick as a distraction, like I'm here
Hey.
for it.
Yeah, this signet ring resizes
Pay
to
no
what it fits
attention to
onto.
the magical
so-
items behind the
Do you want to put it
Goliath's
back on your
dick.
hand though when it's over?
I don't. I do not.
Look,
Do we have
look.
magic? Oh wait, I have alchemist fire. I can clean it.
Look, I'm fair to argue.
You're gonna have to sneak that in too.
All that's
He's got a concealed weapon.
all
Okay.
that's really gonna happen. Hear me out. All that's really gonna happen is if I go up there and start stripping everything, I'll gladly give them whatever. Like obviously, I won't give them the magic items, but I'll give them whatever, and then I'll be like, "That's it. I don't have any clothes." They'll be like,
So-
"Put your clothes on." I'd be like,
Do we want
I
to make
have
a
a-
show?
Let me throw
I have a
this at you.
solution.
Let me throw this at you guys, just because I'm trying to I'm kind of bouncing off your sort of where you're thinking here. Rana has left the scene here, but let me retroactively. If Rana was on the inside, right? And she has kind of explained to you that on the inside, there's not cells and bars and stuff, right? You're just stuck in there when you go in there. So it's essentially a little community in there, and that's how they live. And she does she is able to tell you that sometimes the only stuff that comes into the demi-plane is not just new inmates. Sometimes there is ways that inmates on the inside interact with the guards on the outside who take control of these wardens on the inside. And like bribery is a thing. So like sometimes stuff gets inside that maybe shouldn't otherwise be in there. So like if like that is an avenue that is you guys can explore if you want or not if you want. Like if you want to try like, you know, during your incarceration, maybe some like smooth talking or bribery, depending on who you interact with or whatever, to maybe like sneak something in. Like, don't, you know, I encourage you guys to like fuck around and find out with some of this stuff. Like, you know, you may fail and you may lose a magical item, but you may succeed and you may get to bring something in. Like, I'm not like nothing is off the table.
I have an idea that's awful.
All of the ideas are awful at this point.
So this is a horrible prison full of horrible people, and we assume at least half the prisoners may or may not be actually bad people, but also, like, at best we know the guards are all terrible people. This is a close cut on how bad prisons can be, but don't prisons usually have betting on prisoner fights? Couldn't we just bribe them to let us have in some sneaky magic objects that help us win fights, and we throw a couple fights in the beginning, and then we start kicking everyone's butts so that they win bets against other guards who don't know what's going on?
Fancy.
It would be
My-
under
But
the
the
assumption
magic
that-
items are usually worth, you know, hundreds of gold pieces.
Yeah,
But-
but they could make triple that in a bet on a losing small
My
elf
issue with
girl.
that, with any sort of bribery, is if we're being arrested, what's stopping them from just taking all of our gold anyway?
I don't have any gold.
Rogers kind of like re-enters the conversation at this point. He says, "Fucking nothing, but you know,
It's better to
you
try to get something in.
smooth talk your way into it. Convince him it's better not to rob you of your shit, and then it works out better for them in the long run. And if they're a breedy enough piece of shit, and maybe it works out."
All right, so a little bit of gold, maybe. I don't know
Be
how
more-
to get that magic ring in.
I have an idea. It's
If you
bad.
say
He has
prison
an
pocket
idea.
again, I'm gonna lose.
It's not technically prison pocket because going in the other end. But I want to bring the ring,
You want to swallow your stuff.
and I want to bring one of those peppers I got when we were in the desert. I had a bad time in the desert.
I hate everything that just came out of your mouth and will eventually come out of something.
So you want
I'm-
to swallow something and then
It come out
Give yourself
naturally.
fiery diarrhea. Is the plan.
Does a stomach count as an anti-magic field? Actually, does detect magic go through flesh? D&D Beyond. I mean, SRD Beyond.
Hey,
Uh,
listen.
Alar's gonna think back. Has he ever tried something like that?
Or heard of anybody trying something like that.
Hey, look, if it's so insane that it's novel, then maybe they haven't heard of it either.
I just imagine Jason trying to look that up on D&D Beyond, and it just says, "What's wrong with you?" It doesn't give.
I mean, I have swallowed a
does say
small
most-
gem, but I
does say
didn't
most
let it go through. I just got out and puked it out.
Does okay. I found out I don't actually need a material component whatsoever for any of my spells, except for one.
Which is
Excavate. Does the ancient Invarian gemstone trigger as magical, or is it mundane?
Refresh me on where you got it.
It was like part of the runage, like it was like effectively like a button down. Oh no, we found it in the time fudgy area. It was,
In
it was just,
Honorant?
like it was
Did-
on the ground and inert. There was no.
Have you ever like
It was
examined?
in.
have
It
you
was
ever
in
examined
Honorant.
it with like a I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
It was part of like the broken elevator, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever
Um,
examined it with like magical eyeballs?
I'm sure I did because I had that at the time. I'm sure I did. I just don't remember if it was. I'm sure
With-
Walter would have.
So in its inert state, No. It in and of itself is not magical.
So I can take, because it's a material component for the spell that I would use as a conduit, but would become magical at that point, based on the spell that was made. Possibly? DM question? Would Walter understand it to be such? Would you like me to make an Arcana check to see if Walter would even
You
have
can make
it?
an Arcana check real quick.
Okay. I was
I don't want to dither with this for the next 2 hours. Like, you guys basically
Yeah.
have your plan figured out. Like, we should
16.
Continue. I think, having had this thing in your possession for as long as you have, I think you have figured out that this thing in and of itself is not magical. This thing is designed to be imbued with and hold onto, and then like redirect magical energies. It was very likely the like power source for the destroyed lift that you found.
Okay.
So in and of itself, not magical. It is designed to like absorb and store a certain type of magical energy, and then be put into like a larger arcanotech machine to then like use that energy to do some type of mechanical work.
Okay. And I imagine, I believe it's less than fist sized, so I believe it was small enough to like possibly swallow and then
Sure.
shit back
That's
out
fine.
with a
Okay.
pepper.
Alar's going to conceal a few spell odds and ends. Piece of fleece for minor illusion, a little bit an eyelash, and it's in the spirit gum somewhere on for invisibility. He'll throw some spider webbing, somewhere for web, and he's going to attempt to conceal a couple lockpicks.
Okay. So, question. Is anybody trying to conceal anything overtly magical on their person with the intention of either trying to sneak it in or trying to like make a play at bribing it in?
Just the signet ring.
Okay.
Yeah,
With the hopes-
the trick coin is magical, but it's the size of a coin. So
Okay. So Brom,
Do-
Walter, you have magical stuff. Osrius and Alar, you said you're basically bringing like components, but no enchanted items.
No.
I
Trying
mean,
to debate
if
whether or not
Oz
to bring the
wanted me
rapier.
to try to sneak anything in on me, because his stuff is so like I could hide it under my clothes, or
Nah.
Would Rana know if we can take
mean, if you want
non-magical
to.
mundane items like a backpack with food? Is that a thing?
no, they're taking
So
all.
nothing
They'll
whatsoever.
take that
Everything,
from you.
everything is gone. Okay. So yeah,
Wait.
sneaking in the chili peppers will also be a challenge.
Okay.
So I'll probably bring multiple chili peppers, just like sewn into my clothes or some shit.
Okay.
Yeah, like anything that we can like quick fix into like my robes, like my clothes. Like I'm tearing into my clothes
Okay.
and resewing things to hide stuff as
So
needed.
then,
Like
with
I'm
all that settled, let's advance the story here.
Okay.
You guys begin your journey, traveling like over the course of this evening. You will arrive in the vicinity of where you kind of the last like wooded, the last area along the main road that you can like figure out something to try and set up your ambush to like get a Ignian caravan. You're heading on your way to that. Rana is up in the driver's seat. She has asked if Osrius would like take first watch with her. Everybody else is going about their business. So, presuming Osrius, you like go to Rana at some point.
Yeah.
So as you guys are riding along, I will fix Suncraft, which decided I didn't want to play anymore. Rana is kind of like gently keeping the horses on track as you guys ride. The moon is full in the sky, leaving you with a good amount of illumination between the moon and Ajiria's rings to see by. Jason is giving me a point of order finger.
Azuria has moons? I thought it was just rings.
Ajiria has a moon. It has rings.
3 rings. Gotcha. Okay.
As you kind of come up and sit alongside her, she's sort of quiet for a while. And she says, Osrius of Madrokia.
Yes.
I believe that you and I understand each other.
I believe we do. Yes.
The others, they talk a lot. They talk before they do anything. They talk when they do something. They talk after they do things. I find that though I love him dearly as a brother, sometimes with Rogers, and I feel similarly with your compatriots, in all of the talking, sometimes the point can be lost. But you and I are not ones for words, you and I are ones for doing. There are plans within plans within plans. But I wish us to understand each other, Osrius. We are to get into the Estelgath. We are to find this person that your Zintress is looking for. And I will bring everyone out if we can escape. But before we go, we will find Pendragon, and we will kill him.
Sounds fair to me.
She nods. She says, there will no doubt be many words in between, but I do not wish them to obfuscate the purpose of this endeavor. We get in. We find your person. We kill Pendragon. And we leave.
All it needs to be.
She nods. She says, then at the very least, I know one person understands. Things do not have to be complicated. Sometimes they are simple. Sometimes someone needs to die. And she continues driving the caravan in silence.
I'd like to make one addition. I'm going to attempt to conceal a dagger.
Okay. I'll leave that all to you guys when we get to that point. So
Okay.
kind of keep it in your minds. You don't have to spill it all out to me.
Okay.
I'm not going to be able to keep track of it, so
Okay.
leave it to yourself.
Okay. I've made my sleight of hand rolls.
Kind of keep your notes. You hang on to that for a minute as well, because the next thing we have to handle is in the morning. You guys get into position. You put yourself along the main road. Carlisle essentially equips himself with a set of your Ignian armor. Anything you are not concealing upon yourselves and don't need for the potential conflict to take over a wagon, it's kind of stored and all that stuff. And then you wait. About 3/4 of the day goes by, and you eventually hear the sounds of a wagon, a caravan approaching. And from your hiding places, I would like everybody to make a stealth check.
For some reason, I do have +3 in stealth.
Sneaky son of a bitch, that's why.
Thanks, Dex.
Sneaky big son of a bitch.
19.
Don't worry, guys. I got this.
Did
Oh,
you roll
no.
one? Did he
Did you
roll one?
2?
It's either a
I
1
mean-
or a 2.
There's the total is 3,
Yikes.
There it
but
is.
it was a 1. I rolled a 1.
You will
Walter is
okay.
out in the middle of the road, isn't he?
I got a 21. Does that
21.
help balance?
13.
Well,
13.
stupidity.
19.
19. Okay. Rana got an 18. Roger's got a 17. Carlisle, because he's in Ignian armor and has disadvantage, got a 2.
Oh
So,
yeah.
Walter and Carlisle, fuck it up. So what happens? The rest of you guys are like hidden among the trees on the sides of this road. A caravan comes out. Walter, with your nat 1, you are you're kind of like hiding. Go ahead.
Walter is absolutely in eyesight, putting potholes in the ground, trying to get this thing stopped.
Okay, so you kind of like
It's on character, and also I didn't realize they were coming that fast. Everybody else is
you like
speaking.
you were caught up in your like pothole digging.
Yeah.
And you don't hear them coming. The caravan like rounds the corner. The rest of you guys are like, Walter, and he doesn't hear you. The caravan comes around. The corner.
Walter, he's got his AirPods in.
Carlisle, at the like as the like the caravan comes around the corner and like comes into line of sight of you. Carlisle, like on like maybe a poorly considered impulse decision, like kind of like bursts out of the underbrush into the open in his like Ignian armor. And he like goes over to you and he like shit.
I imagine like everybody's yelling for like Walter, and Walter's just like into the zone, and then Carl just comes like freight training out and tries to like football tack me into the other bush.
There you go. Carlisle tackles you. You do not get into like another bush. You just end up like you are now like under Carlisle has like he's like pinned you to the ground, and you're like in the road, and the caravan. You hear the caravan like comes to a stop.
President,
And-
get down.
Mr.
President.
Yeah, he goes, Mr. President, and he tackles you.
200 pounds of heft.
He like pins you to the ground. The caravan stops, and in Ignian, in Elvish, somebody calls out, and they say, "You there? What are you doing out in the middle of nowhere? And who is this person that you have tackled? What is going on here?"
Walter's going to yell out, "Down with the Empire!"
Carlisle, let me make a intelligence check for Carlisle.
Oh, great.
I'm gonna say that in Elvish, but not Ignian Elvish.
Okay. So you kind of
just
like
to be a dickhole.
you kind of like yell that, and Carlisle, like you see Carlisle has like got you pinned, and he's like, and you go like down with the Empire, and he goes like, and he goes, he yells out like, "Don't talk about the Empire like that!" Punches you in the face.
Good cover. It's good cover.
You take 1 point of bludgeoning damage. He punches you in the face.
Face punch damage.
He like pulls his punch a little bit, so it's like it's not too bad. And the caravan stops. The rest of you, you see, essentially this is like a stagecoach thing with like a the thing attached to it is not a wagon so much as it is like a I don't know what the proper term for this, but like you know if you were to imagine what like an old timey circus might like transport like a bear around in, you know what I'm talking, like a thing with like a roof and a bunch of bars and just like a bunch of, and it's just got a bunch
on wheels?
It's just like a cage on wheels,
The
yeah.
cage from Chitty Bang Bang.
And it's got a bunch of like people in the back who are currently chained like hand and feet. And the manacles that are on them are like they go up and they go sort of into the ceiling of this thing. There are 2 Ignian soldiers on the like the coach position of this caravan. And one of them like hands the reins to the other, and then like gets down and begins like walking towards where Carlisle like has you pinned. And he's go ahead.
Can I do a perception check to see? Is there only 2 guards? Like, can I just check to make sure there's no others like on the back?
Yeah, make a
of it?
perception check.
I feel like that's not enough guards. I mean, they're
Yeah.
all chained, but like I don't trust this.
For a small cage, maybe.
Perception of 19,
2 guards.
and there's no other sound of another wagon coming
Nope.
behind.
Second question. Both elves?
Yes.
Okay, then Alar whispers to himself, lethal it is.
So the first guard like gets down and he begins walking towards Carlisle, who is like pinned you down, Walter. And he is saying in Elvish, he's saying, "Get up! I have whoever this is covered. I want an answer to this. You are nowhere near an outpost, and there's not a scheduled guard to be coming through here. Who is this person, and what you're doing here?" And Carlisle like has you pinned, and he's like looking at you, Walter, and he's like,
Banishment.
Oh, go ahead.
Walter's still got all his gear on. Oh no, I don't have any of my gear. That's correct. I am currently naked. So I think we're
I
preparing
mean,
for that.
at this point, it is up to you. Like, right, you're planning to take over this caravan. Like, you don't have to have like unequipped
Oh, okay,
all of your
sure,
shit
sure,
to
sure,
fight
sure,
these
sure.
guys. Like,
Okay.
right? Like, it
in
makes
that
sense you would
case,
still
we're
have all
not
your shit
there
to
yet.
fight these
okay.
guys.
In that case, I'm going to use the shovel to banish this man.
Okay.
That came up.
So he
Use
goes
whatever
like,
you get.
Carlisle goes like, and then he goes like, "Ooh!" and he rolls off of you. And as he's rolling, like he rolls and he pulls a hand crossbow. So if you guys want to roll initiative, we're gonna give you a surprise round against these guys. If like Carlisle's like, "Duh!" gives you guys the cue to go.
And Carlisle pulls out a gun.
Pulls out a gun.
We don't have anything equipped, or we still have our
No,
stuff?
no, we're
got our
we're-
gear.
Keep
We
all of
haven't
your stuff
gone
equipped.
that far yet.
We're
It
good.
makes no
Let's-
makes no
plan
sense
was-
for you to
yeah.
have like
Two.
disarmed
Okay.
yourselves to like
This is
take the
take
caravan.
the caravan later on. We'll have.
Yeah,
nothing.
we're not. Take it as we're not at the gates yet, so we're still on the road. Like we're not.
Yeah,
even
you
there.
can't even see the Estelgath yet. Like,
Yeah, we're not
This
even.
is-
there.
Okay.
That was the planning. Now this is the before time. 22.
23.
Initiative.
Yeah,
21.
20.
23, 22, 21, 20.
Well, don't worry.
When
I'll
you
just,
all roll high, I guess it doesn't really matter then, does
Yeah.
it?
I guess I'll just watch from the bushes. 17.
That's still
You
really
get 'em.
good.
No, but you guys. I mean, all of you guys. It's only 2 elves. Like you guys are gonna. You need to decimate them before I get there.
Watch now. We're all gonna miss, and it's all gonna be up to
I
us.
hope you don't miss. Please. Well, he just bandaged somebody. I mean, how can you miss?
Okay. So, Walter, with Carlisle on top of you, he goes, "Ooh!" and rolls off of you as he like pulls his crossbow. You guys see this from the shadows, and like everybody jumps. So Brahm, you are the first to react. There is an elf who is about halfway between the caravan and Carlisle and Walter, like on the ground in the middle of the road. And then there is an elf who is still in like the carriage, like the driver's box in the seat of the wagon.
Do I want to blow spell spots already?
Up to you, buddy.
I'm gonna use. I'm gonna cast using the Bandor since it's not gonna matter. Like, essentially entangle on the carriage.
Okay. It's a dex save from the guy in the driver's box, right?
If that's how you want to do it, yeah, I guess.
He gets
probably the horse.
horses too. Yeah, I'll make our save for the horses as well. The guy in the box gets a 17. The horses get a 12, which I think is going to mean they fail. So the horses are restrained. So you like jump out of the bushes, like slam the band door, and like the like ground of the trail like.
Did he just mute for?
He just went mute.
Yeah, you went mute on us.
I tapped the top of my microphone by accident. The horses, the caravan get like wrapped up. The Ignian soldier like on the caravan like kind of like one of his legs gets like wrapped up, but he yanks it out. And he is not restrained. But the horses and the carriage are like kind of stuck in place for now.
Well, that's good.
Zintrus, that's gonna bring us to you.
Since he didn't get the guy on the carriage and I see him break out, I'm just gonna firebolt the guy on the carriage.
All right, roll to hit.
Yeah.
Um, 17 to hit.
17 definitely hits.
Color emerald. Bam.
Russ is having some.
Oh, is he?
Oh, he's frozen.
frozen.
Oh,
Yeah, he had a
No,
power
no.
flicker, so
Ooh.
10 points of damage to him.
Okay. You like
I'm still
firebolt
staying kind of
streaks across.
in the
It like
bush.
strikes him. He like wah, staggers back, like slumps into his seat, and like begins to like. He's trying to like. He seems like completely disoriented by how hard he just got hit by a firebolt.
I duck back down in the bush.
That brings us to Alar.
from probably from the other side, I'm going to pop up and fling a knife. Yeah, we're doing lethal, so I'm going to since Zintris appears to have targeted the guy in the caravan, I'm going to go for the guy charging at Walter and
Roll to hit.
plus 19.
A 19 hits. Roll damage.
All right. Sneak attack. Five, 10, 20, 22, 25 points of piercing damage. I'm a rogue.
Someone remind me to play a rogue next time.
That guy, like, a bolt hits him in the side of the head, and he just, like, and falls dead to the ground.
Hell yeah.
That will bring us to Walter. So, Walter, you begin to, like, you spin around, the shovel, like, comes, like, the Carlisle rolls off of you, you, like, bring the shovel up, and as you, like, bring it to bear, the guy that you, like, pointed at just goes, like, fuck! Falls to the ground dead with a bolt in his head.
Walter's gonna go right, and then using the shovel as a spell focus, I'm going to shovel cannon, I guess, and Eldritch Blast out of the shovel the guy that's in the carriage.
All right, roll to hit.
That's okay. 27 to hit
Yes, that hits.
and a 16 to hit.
That also hits.
All right, so that's going to be an 8 and a 6 for 14 points of Eldritch Blast damage.
So you just like, poof, and then you two Eldritch Blasts come out of the shovel. The guy in the caravan goes like,
oh, it's hiding.
and he like then just slumps dead. Carlisle, who's like, oh, well, fuck.
Alar's gonna pop out of the bushes. Sorry, Carlisle.
I was like, no, it's fine. I saved the boat.
All right, I'm going to check the two bodies, looking for hopefully keys for these manacles.
One of them does have keys that you assume are probably for the caravan and like the door on the back of the caravan and potentially the manacles. The like prisoners. There are 6 prisoners in the back of the caravan. They are all like very quiet at this sudden like thing that has happened, and they're like,
Are they all elves? Like, what is the makeup
no,
of the prisoners?
kind of a mixed bag. There is, let's see, there's 6 of them, I said. Is that what I said?
Yep.
There is an elf, there is a human, there's 2 gnomes. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's say there is a half elf and an orc.
Okay.
Where in the butts is Russell?
He is restarting his.
His whole
Everything down.
Yeah,
There is.
there it is.
The power flickered, and
Everything went-
the internet went out. But then also my mouse stopped working out of nowhere.
Oh, good.
But then
Okay.
I just switched ports, and now it works. So.
So
Is there a prisoner manifest?
That's what I was just gonna ask. Is there a manifest for these prisoners on their bodies?
Not that you find anywhere.
Okay,
That's good.
fantastic.
Unlock the door. Unlock the the medical.
So you get the keys. You like try a couple of them until you find the one for the door. As you open the doors to the caravan, you see that the doors on the back of this cage are actually like attached to the chains that run along the ceiling and are attached to the prisoners. So as you open the door, all of the prisoners are forced to their feet and their hands are like pulled up above their heads. So that when the doors open, everybody is essentially in a position like this where their arms are above their heads and their feet are on the ground and they're like they can't move at all.
Can I slide in and like get in there with them?
Well, you like the door opens.
Yeah.
What you kind of see is like the way that this cage is designed is that like when the door to the cage is opened, it forces all of the prisoners into a position so that they cannot like fight. And then when the door is closed, the chains relax so that they can like sit down. So like Alar opens the doors and all of the prisoners are like held to their feet. As
shit. Sorry.
As what is this interest? You said you're like going in.
Well, I thought it meant that like we couldn't undo them because it was too tight, but if we can still undo them, then like
no, theoretically you have the key. So like as you open the door, one of the human he kind of looks at you, goes like, I don't know who you people are, but we don't want any trouble.
we're not here to cause you trouble. Don't worry.
Today is your lucky day.
Well, if you call getting set free in the middle of the wilderness lucky, happy birthday.
I look at everyone. How do we want to handle getting up to? As I'm like still unlocking. I'm starting with the gnomes and
Okay.
and like I'm like whatever because I'm thinking about what we said earlier about like getting someone to drive us up.
So you unlock the two gnomes first.
Yeah.
So you've got two gnomes, you've got a half elf, you've got an orc, you've got the human who talked to you, and then you've got an elf. Who like give me an order in which you are unlocking people.
Oh god, that makes me nervous about this now. Alar got my back.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I unlock the two gnomes first.
Okay.
So, and then the half elf,
Okay.
the human, the elf, and then the orc.
You get to the human, and as you like unlock, you begin to like unlock his, his chains. You have to get pretty close to him to do it.
Yeah.
Because you have to like reach up. As you get up to him, he like moving his mouth as little as possible. He says, "I wouldn't unlock the elf.
Why not?
Pretty sure he eats people."
Okay. Insight check.
Okay.
Might be crazy, but that's. Don't know this man, but 17 plus 5.
He seems to be truthful. As he like, you don't get the impression that he's like trying to pull one over on you or anything. He's like,
or that he eats people. And
you don't get the impression that he also eats people.
I'm very close to him.
No, you you kind of go to unlock him, and he's like.
Draconic to Alar. This guy, and I motion to the human, thinks this guy, motion to the elf, eats people. Opinions? Thoughts? Concerns?
Alar's gonna look at the elf demeanor.
Insight check.
Give me 18.
He's like perfectly calm.
Oh no. If he's calm and not looking relieved,
He's
leaving him.
he's like,
I don't trust that. Skipping him for a second. I'll skip him and go to everyone else and then leave him for a minute.
okay. So you
Yeah,
unlock
Brahms.
everybody else.
Yeah. In Draconic interest, you speak Orcish?
No. No.
Brom.
You speak Orcish? Yeah, I speak Orcish.
Talk to your buddy and confirm he's not gonna rip my face.
I don't know whether he speaks Common.
It's a full orc, so we had to bluff.
So
I will attempt to then speak to him in
Okay.
Orcish. Starting out by asking him in Orcish, do you speak Orcish?
In Orcish, he says, I would certainly hope so.
No habla español.
You can never be too careful. What do we need me to tell him? Just chill. Everybody chill out.
yeah, we're letting him out. Please don't attack us.
No sudden movements.
We're not here for you. We're gonna let you go. So don't get any murdery ideas towards us. Unless you'd like to stay here.
he says, I would not like to stay here. I resent that you think because I am orc, I will get murdery ideas towards you.
Tell him about the. And I motion to my own race.
I will relay that, I guess.
You will belay that, like, you're worried that that elf is a cannibal?
Or just that, like, we're having trust issues and we want to make sure.
Yeah, I'll ask him,
that we're
like,
letting
you
out
know
is
what's up?
okay.
You know what's up with him?
He says, I do not speak the tongue of any of these prisoners. They have exchanged some words during our journey. He says, I do not know what is up with him, but I know he is not right. He says, his teeth, they have been modified.
Yes, interest. He doesn't know for sure, but he's not. The evidence is not great on the not cannibal side. Apparently, his teeth have been modified.
I like the idea that Brom is saying this in like common.
Are you saying that in common?
Just interest, I'm saying that.
So you say that in common, and the elf who you like now have definitely been like talking about a bunch. He
This is smile.
he goes. There is an awful lot of discussion going on here.
You're a cannibal.
This is
For sure.
Just-
All right, Hannibal Lecter, let's go.
just because I talk like this doesn't mean that is, I think, neither here.
Do you want me to
nor
tell you
there.
about lambs? Do you want me to tell you if they stop screaming?
I want you to just unshackle me and let me go along my way.
How
I
about
have no
this?
quarrel with you.
I'm since I have to be close to him, I've let everyone else out at this point. It's just me and him in this cage. He's the only one shackled. Before I do this, I have one question. If we leave this guy shackled here, is there still enough shackles for all of us that need to be in here?
Yes.
Okay, good to know. I look at him. What are you being sent to the Estelgath for? What crime have you been accused of? And this is all in Elvish, or if I get this in, if he's Ignian, then Ignian Elvish. Like, whatever floats his boat to make him feel comfortable talking to me.
Tax evasion.
That sounds wrong. That
Um,
that's right.
Nope. Alar just marches up and
nope.
knife right through.
Oh shit! Okay. You like
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
stab him, and he was like, oh. And he,
Yeah.
They
Once
may
he's
have got
on-
him on. They may have got him on the tax evasion, but that's not what.
I-
they did.
Once he's,
Holy
like,
shit.
Bled out and everything, I will undo the manacles and just kick the body out of the
We
cage.
can't bring him with us. I
He
ain't
can't
leaving
be
a king.
inside with us.
Yeah, I ain't leaving a cannibal on the loose with these other folks.
Walter's
If
like,
he's eating the people, fuck no.
Well, there's like, all right, I'm back to my old job from before. And I started like
Digging
just
another
digging
hole.
some graves out in the side of the road.
You molder 3 graves and just
I look at
kick these 3 guys in.
I look at the half elf and the human,
Okay.
and I'm assuming they're all just kind of like standing there, like we're kind of like, what the heck's going on? I'm looking at them for a moment, sizing them up, and then I look at the human and I say, well, thanks for the tip, but same question to you, to all of you, really. What were your crimes, and how much revenge do you want on these people?
Oops. I just broke my pencil.
Zidris has gone Judge Dredd on us.
I need information.
The gnomes like look at each other. The half elf kind of like looks a little trepidatious. The orc does not look like he understood, and the human kind of looks at you and he goes,
We will not be stabbing more people unless you lie.
And you have a way to confirm this?
That's something you need to be concerned about now, isn't
He's
it?
like, I would really prefer. Listen, I don't think the thing that I was being sent to jail for is that big a deal. Certainly in comparison to cannibalism. But I would definitely not prefer to be shivved on the side of the road here if you people don't think I'm a nice man.
Look, we have bigger problems than you probably. I just want to know what we're dealing with and how much you're willing to help us. So if you could just give me some information, that'd be great. Pretty please.
Help you?
We just broke you out of jail. Pretty please just tell us what we need.
He goes, okay. He says, I was arrested for defrauding the Empire.
High five.
He gets a high five and a pat on the butt.
Yeah,
and he goes
wait,
away.
Aelor has sheathed his dagger. Like, no, dude, you're good with me.
He goes, I am a... And he like looks at the other. He goes like, well, honesty, I am a trader in counterfeit art.
Okay.
He's like,
Cool.
is that a stabbable offense here?
No.
Should I start running? No?
No,
Okay.
Cannibalism?
We're all holding Brom back.
Yeah,
It's like,
cannibalism.
Hey,
That's
I'm
a
not the one
stabbable
who
offense.
stabbed somebody already.
Okay, and then I look at the human.
And that was also for your sake too.
Anywhere in anything worse than, like, murdering children or cannibalism? Are you below that line?
The two gnomes are like, we were arrested because it's kind of a complicated story, but it sort of boils down to the fact that this small lord of our town is not a huge fan of non-elves, and we may or may not have been facilitating a part of the I'm really trying not to use the word Underground Railroad because that's not a thing that has context in this setting.
Aelor's gonna.
We were helping to
get
smuggle
down.
people out of the Empire.
Even better.
Walter's gonna be like, Graves over there. Relieve yourself on the way out.
Yeah. Aelor's gonna get down on their level. Then you and I,
Same
we're on
business.
opposite. We're on.
We're on opposite sides.
Side.
Yep.
We're on the two ends of that pathway out, and he's gonna shake both of their hands.
You shake their hands. The half elf, he says, "Oh, I am accused of adultery."
Can I just insight check everyone at large, but especially
Did
as
he
Wait,
take
do we
that
know this
long?
happened?
Yeah, no, he did that in. That was in character.
insight
do
check.
we know this half elf?
No.
Okay, I don't know.
Insight check on this half elf specifically. I'm gonna know this man's middle name by the end of
Yeah.
this.
I don't know. I've never actually come up with Alar's town's name, but he asks the gnomes the name of the town that they were operating near.
They say a town that I don't have a name for right now because I
Okay.
made all
Is
of
it-
these people up on the spot.
Okay.
Helmsville.
Is it the same town?
Can
The
be.
same town as what we're.
He's from
Alar
Detroit.
lived.
No.
Okay. I just
gnomes
wanted.
from Detroit. It happens.
They're from Detroit.
Cool. Okay.
It's a 24 insight check on this half elf for his adultery claim.
He's not telling the truth.
I grab him by the back of the hair. And I pull out my dagger. Try again.
He's like, I don't eat people! Christ! Jesus!
What
Okay.
did you do?
He's like, murder!
Of
who?
He's like, the adulterer in question!
Oh, cool. Let him go.
fine.
Well, not ideal, but
Not ideal,
you know,
but we have
we
bigger
just
problems here.
also extrajudicially killed
I smack him on
somebody,
the back.
so it is also technically murder, Alar.
I just smack him on the back. That's fine as long as it wasn't children or eating people. We do have some standards.
Okay,
Look.
and he like backs
We're
away
right
from
on.
you guys.
Zintris, we're not. These folks aren't going to work.
I just wanted to know who we were letting loose in the wild.
Fair enough. Congratulations, all of you have received a parole. I'm sorry that it is here in the middle of the Empire, so you are left to make your own way to safety and freedom. But Alar is going to hand out a couple of bits of rations to each of them. Best of luck.
Yeah, we're not gonna need this where we're going. And the Walter's gonna like get himself up in one of the recently like vacated seats and just like get himself like ready to chain up.
Okay. They like take whatever you give them and like disappear into the forest essentially.
I just wanted to know if any of them were worse than the guy we just stabbed, and I'm prestidigitating the blood away.
Okay. So you do all that. You clean up the blood. Carlisle in his Ignian armor gets into the driver's seat of the coach. You guys are manacling yourselves in the back.
Yep.
All right.
After we give Carlisle all the stuff we're not bringing with us.
Yep.
He puts all of that in a bag of holding. Your caravan is shrunk down. That is put in the is not put in the bag of holding because you haven't
Yeah.
decided if you want to do that yet. So he puts that in the pocket.
Are our other bags of holding inside the thing when it shrinks down? Oh.
Is that safe?
Or do we have a bunch of loose bags of holding we have to figure out what to do with?
You have. That's up to you. Do you want to put them in the thing and then try and shrink it down and see what happens, or are you not taking that risk at this point?
We just got this thing. I don't
Then
know.
Carlisle just shoves them inside the armor in a bunch of places, and he's got all the bags of holding, but they're not
Alright.
You have not committed any extra dimensional faux pas in this scenario.
It's a relief.
Okay.
Do you think we want to try to get a bag of holding in?
Under who?
Yeah, we already had this conversation. It's fine. Pass.
Yeah, no, difficult enough to get your ring in.
I just don't know who would be able to conceal it on our person.
No, if they did what I would, it sounds like
If you
Rana
want
said
to
they
try,
did.
Walter, that's a you problem, honey.
Everything will come out with the hot peppers. It's fine.
Okay. You.
Is that the fate to black that this campaign has been waiting
This
for?
will be the-
Fade to brown.
This is a fade to brown as you guys you work all of
over.
this out. Carlisle, once you guys are all situated, Carlisle cracks the whip of the caravan, and you begin heading forward. You
I like
ride.
the idea that Oz is in the gnome seat. Like we each took our relative doppelganger. Except for Oz is taking up the two gnome seats now.
Sure. You guys kind of sequester yourselves in the back, and Carlisle cracks the whip in his Ignian armor and begins to drive the caravan forward. After about an hour, you guys break free of the forest and you enter into a wide, flat expanse of marshland. The only feature of this marshland that is not natural, just completely flat, uncultivated landscape is where the road has been built up to lead you in a northeasterly. How do I do this? Northeasterly fashion. So you guys are currently directly behind my chair here. If I move this way, right? Shavas and Vari is here. You guys came from like this way, made your way, skirted all of this. You are now heading like this upward towards here. That only means something if anybody is watching the stream, and it will only mean something in like 15 seconds from now. Essentially, you are in sort of the no man's land to the northeast of the capital city of the Ignian Empire, Shivas and Varia. You traverse these plains. You come out into this open road, and in the distance, steadily growing larger, you get your first sight of the Estelgath, which I will pop on screen now, and I will put for you guys in Discord.
Oh no!
That looks. First off,
Kinda-
that's awesome.
It's what I
Second-
pictured, but oh god.
Does it look like the ziggurat to us? A little
Not really.
bit? Okay.
I mean,
Men-
in that,
mental-
like,
mental
the
image.
the ziggurat is just like a big stoic block of a structure, and so is the Estelgath here. So as you approach, the only feature in this landscape, there's this sort of like marshy, mucky landscape with like a little bit of like, you know, like a little like slope or rock formation here or there, like. But by and large, there is nothing of any significance for like miles in any direction as you approach, and you come across this single rock formation, hundreds of feet high, and part of the way up this rock formation, it has been like either carved out of it or like built upon it. Merging with the rock formation is the structure of the Estelgath, this dominant, like brutalistic fortress that sits atop this stone structure. As you approach, you can get a little more clarity of it. The main part of the fortress is like built into sort of the side-ish of this structure. There's another slope that goes up to like the very epitome of this fortress, and atop that you see that it has like this large dome-shaped observatory on the top of it that like glints in the late like the setting sun, like kind of glints off of it, casting it in stark contrast to your view. You see now kind of what Rana was talking about, like in visible direction anywhere from where you are. Like there is no way that you could have gotten within like several miles of this thing without like somebody at the top of this being able to see you from whatever direction you were in. You slowly wend your way along this singular road towards the structure itself, and as you get closer, it begins to loom larger and larger in your vision until essentially this singular rock formation with the fortress sitting high atop of it is like the only thing dominating your field of vision. As you get close to it, as you said, as Rana said, there is, you see, a single opening in the foothill, like at the base of this rock formation, a large chamber that looks like it probably has like a gate or a portcullis, something closable, but it is currently open. As you approach, Carlisle gives you like a couple of minutes warning. He kind of like calls back behind you. He says, "Okay, this is it. Get ready." And he gives the reins a little snap, and you guys lurch forward towards the Estelgath.
As we
Go ahead.
just as we get closer, before we get within like too close, I'm just gonna quietly say to Carlisle, "Thank you," and that's it.
He doesn't respond anyway. He just drives the caravan forward. You get up. You can see the like sort of like the shadow comes over the caravan as you guys pass under this like massive archway of this place, and the caravan, you feel it kind of like come to a stop, and you hear the somebody from the inside in Ignian call out, "You are slightly behind schedule. I hope there was no trouble on the road." And Carlisle, in surprisingly good Ignian Elvish, replies, "No, bit of bad weather. This is my first caravan detail to the Estelgath. I hope that I wasn't too far behind schedule." And you hear a response, "No, it is fine. About face the caravan, we will unload the prisoners and you may get back on your way." And he says, "Yes, of course, sir." And you feel the snap of the reins and the caravan kind of turns as Carlisle kind of pulls it in a loop so that the horses and he are facing back out, and you guys are then turned and you can now fully see where you have been brought. You are faced back, and leading away from you is a long, 60 foot wide by probably 80, 90 foot tall, arched hallway, essentially carved into the very stone itself. The stone on the floor is was once a highly polished marble, but is now cracked and faded. The walls themselves are perfectly smooth, except for places here or there where they have eroded over the centuries. Several Ignians in heavy armor approach the back of the caravan, and one of them takes a key and unlocks the back of the cart, forcing all of you guys to your feet and upright with your hands above your head. Oz, you are probably, because you're so big, you are probably only this, maybe. Now, you can't get your hands any lower than that, but yours are not pulled over your head like the rest of everybody's is.
Okay.
The Ignian, who seems to be in charge, kind of looks at all of you, and as he surveys the group of you in common, he says, "Welcome to the Estelgath. I assure you, if you are harboring any delusions of resisting at this point, you will not survive the next 5 minutes. Have I made myself clear, inmates?"
Walter's not going to respond.
If nobody responds, he gestures towards two of the others. One guy comes in with a set of keys. Two guys stand at the opening of the wagon, and that the guy goes around and unlocks all of your manacles. He once he has unlocked you, he comes back out, and the one who spoke said, "Disembark the transport now."
Right. Following directions. The most that ALR is doing unprompted is probably rubbing his wrist a little bit from the manacles, but very slowly, no sudden moves.
Yeah, keeping my head down, looking as forlorn as I can possibly be.
The Ignian says, "You will line up single file. You will walk down this hallway, escorted by us. If you break formation, if any of us suspect you are thinking about breaking formation, if you try anything, I assure you, you will be shot dead without a moment's hesitation." He arranges with several guards around you on either side, and they begin to lead you down this long hallway. You guys can make perception checks if you'd like.
Yeah.
How's a 17 do me?
Okay.
27.
God
I
damn.
don't perceive shit.
21.
18.
Okay. So everybody but Brahm, who apparently doesn't perceive shit, you can see that all along this hallway there are essentially like arrow boxes.
Slits.
There's slits where like you see there are guards in armor behind these slits with like crossbows, arrows, things like that pointed in your guys' direction. You get the sense that like if any funny business goes down, y'all are gonna get lit up. Osrius, you also detect kind of two things. You detect Rana as you guys are like beginning your march down this hallway. Rana is like shaking very, very slightly, very quietly. You also detect that like Rogers seems to also have like noticed this. He doesn't make any move to like break out of formation. You guys just like keep kind of walking in your path.
I'm just gonna keep an eye on her then.
Okay.
Like just still keeping
Sure.
single file, just keeping an eye both probably on both Roger and Ryan.
So probably like she is right in front of you, so you see this,
Okay.
and he is in front of her. So you kind of like see that he is like
eyeing
her over his shoulder, and you see that she is like full body like trembling as you guys move forward. But nobody neither of them break formation. You guys proceed forward. You're led down this long hallway. You come to the end of this chamber, and there is another like essentially like it is open, but is what is clearly like a portcullis that could be closed. You are led through this and into a large, almost circular. It does have like some angles. It's more like it's almost like hexagonal. This chamber with a massive like circular, highly polished marble like disc on the floor in the center of it. You're instructed to like take positions on this like disc in the center of the chamber. Several guards like file in around you, surrounding the outside of you. And as you guys get onto the center of this disc and move into position, there is like a lever, and you see one of the Ignians like pulls the lever, and you begin to hear this like deep rumbling like ka-chunk, 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 and what was like a polished marble portion of the floor, this disc begins to steadily rise. And you see that you're on a lift that extends up into the blackness high above you in like a central shaft in the center of this mountain structure. And you rise for what feels like a minute or two until the platform comes to a stop. And as it does, the guards like gestured you off and forward. You are in a chamber. You can see that ahead of you, in the direction you are being like pushed, is another big like set of double doors which are currently open. But there are other smaller like normal sized doors kind of around this chamber that you are in. They are all closed as far as you can see. You are led through this door, and you begin a traversal up another kind of like long hallway. This one is very slightly elevated as you like go up a little bit further, as you kind of get the sense that like you have come out of the mountain part and are now like in the fortress part proper. And you are led down this hallway into a long sort of rectangular chamber that looks very much to you like at one point it was a grand reception hall or a throne room. At the far side of this hallway, you see this chamber. You see that there is like a dais, and on that dais is this like massive, imposing, like brutalistic stone throne. It is not adorned in any way or anything. It's just like a feature of this room that is part of the room. You see there are numerous doors on the sides of this room. And as you guys are being led like through this chamber, you see that occasionally like a door will open, and what appear to be like guards and personnel of the Estelgath like move about, presumably like to and from other parts of the fortress here. The dominating feature of this chamber as you are led towards its center is that it kind of looks like at some point almost like a siege weapon was like hurtled into this chamber and smashed through the floor. There is like a collapse in the floor in the center of the room where like the stone floor has like caved in and looks like it would collapse down to the floor below. But as you like look into this opening, as you are led closer and closer to it, you can't actually see anything beneath this opening. You just see like kind of like shadow and blackness and darkness. You are led right up to the edge of this, and as the procession comes to a stop, the Ignian in charge of you says, in a sort of a tone that suggests that like he has this conversation a lot, he says, "This is your destination. You will descend willingly here into the prison proper, or you will descend by force. The choice is yours. I will give you 15 seconds to decide for yourselves, and then we will act. I promise you, no harm will come to you immediately. If you enter willingly, the alternative is unpleasant. Your time begins now."
Walter's just gonna walk right in.
Okay.
Slight pause just to see if anybody's like frozen.
Yeah, I'm checking everybody really quick as Walter just jumps in.
Anybody
Like-
who wants to can make an insight check if you'd like.
Yeah, that's
Also, the shadowy darkness. Does
21.
my super cursed eyes see anything different than normal,
No.
or is it just super cursed? Okay.
25 insight.
Okay.
With this nat 20 on it too.
All right, so Walter just plunges in. Alar, you don't notice anything.
right.
Brahm, you did not roll. Are you just like going in?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I'm not gonna roll better.
Zintris, you notice that Rana is like planted in place. Osrius, you notice also that Rana is planted in place. You also notice that like Rogers has seen this, and he is like lollygagging because he's watching her. Alar, Walter, and Brahm like go to the edge and jump in. Osrius, Zintris, Rana, and Rogers, you guys are still out here. The three of you kind of like looking at her, and Rana is basically like looking at this hole in the ground and is like,
Question really quick. Over the travels, we've learned enough about each other. What other languages do I know that Rana speaks other than like Infernal and Common?
Rana speaks Ignian Elvish. Rana speaks a little bit of like Orcish, a little bit of Goblin. That's probably all you know.
Damn. I just whoever's closest to me, I don't know who that would be, but whoever's closest to me, I hold my hand out to them, like, let's do this together, hoping to get like all of us to hold hands and just we'll go together. It's like a sign of like, let's just do this together.
Rogers kind of like looks at you. He sees what you do, and he looks back at Rana. Rogers takes your hand, and Rogers holds his hand out towards Rana as well.
I'm holding. I don't know where Roz is in relation, but like
Probably
I'll
like
hold-
on the other side of Rana.
I'll hold another hand out towards Rana as well.
Okay,
Like on
so-
the other end.
She
And-
kind of like looks. She sees Rogers' hand. She sees Osirius' hand on either side. She like,
and in Ignian Elvish, I'll just say to the guards, she's afraid of heights. We're going, as like a, we're doing this.
the guard kind of says like, "Do not test me." 5, 4, and Rogers. Oh, go ahead, Osirius.
No, I'm just going to like lightly, but like trying to be like not forceful, but like kind of walk it, like trying
Yeah,
to like
inching.
move with Rana, and I figured
Okay.
Roger is probably
Kinda
Yeah, we're
starts
all
to move.
inching.
You guys like begin to inch forward. Rogers leans kind of towards Rana, and he whispers something. It's interesting. Oz, you can make a perception check.
Ooh, okay. That's 18.
22. I forgot I was muted.
You both hear that Rogers like whispers. He like kind of like whispers into Rana's ear. You hear him say, "Tomorrow's coming. It's all gonna be all right." And she, Oz, you feel her like squeeze your hand, and the four of you like jump into the darkness together. As all of you jump into this black void, you feel the sort of like weightlessness take you as you jump. Your perception goes dark as you are like swallowed by shadow. You feel yourselves falling. No longer than you would expect for like kind of a short jump, maybe from one floor to the next. You hit the ground hard-ish as you land on solid stone. Everybody make me a for the bushes. Everybody make me a perception check.
You're not supposed to read that, sir.
Sorry, I happen to have it open.
25.
Is this dark?
Like
It is
Is it
dim light.
darkness? Dim
Dim
light.
light.
Okay.
22 with a natural 20.
22.
This is perception.
Yeah.
16.
Suncrab need to stop playing around.
Yeah, right.
It's-
Blooping
it's
in and out.
I need my mood
turning
music.
off,
It's
and it's
bloop,
pissing
it
me
keeps
off.
blooping me in and out. It keeps every time I hear it. I'm like, "Who's here?" What?
I
Who's
really
surprising
think
us?
I really think it's Russell dropping in and out, and I look up every time to see that he's still here.
Freaking Suncraft won't continue to play. Okay.
I got a 10.
10. Okay. Nobody got lower than a 10, right? No.
No.
You guys are in the same chamber that you just jumped out of. Ahead of you is that brutalistic stone throne. The stone walls, the floor, everything is the same. Except that there is no hole in the floor anymore. It is a solid stone floor. There are no Ignian guards. Instead, as you guys gather your bearings and begin to like look around this chamber, which is lit by these torches, which have been like put in like affixed into like what was once the sconces in the wall, you like look at you're transfixed for a moment at the flickering flames in these torches as you realize that like though they are brightly burning, the amount of light that they are casting is like greatly diminished, as if everything here is now muted. A muffled blanket has been thrown over your perception, your sight, your sense of sound, your sort of like proprioception of everything around you. You turn, and instead of an Ignian guard, you find a monster standing near you. It is roughly the size and bulk of Osrius. Though it is not standing on the ground, it is rather floating, you see. A couple of inches off the ground. It's like the tips of its feet sort of brushing the stone beneath its feet. It is mostly unclothed, save for a few pieces of like threadbare clothing that sort of cover the important bits. Decidedly, it is humanoid and male in build and physique, from what you can tell. As you kind of like look up it, you notice a few things. In the center of its chest, there is a like triangular gemstone of some sort has been like buried into its sternum. There is a luminous magenta glow coming from this stone, and it seems to be filled with like a gently sloshing liquid. As you look up, you see that from this stone there's like the suggestion that like through this thing's veins this like liquid is pumping. And as you look up, it is humanoid from sort of like the mandible down, but where the upper portion of like the like facial structure and the top of the skull and the cranium would be, there is a like a multifaceted gemstone like crystal ball almost, that is highly polished but is like filled with a similarly like magenta colored substance, though unlike in the chest it is not liquid. It seems to be like a vapor that is swirling around. Both of its arms end in like sort of like mangled hands, but from like the forearm are protruding these like cartilaginous like growths that like come out and come to a like a scythe-like point. This thing like hovers nearby you as you turn around, and from behind it steps a very ordinary looking human man in like threadbare brown shirt and pants and no shoes. And he looks at the group of you and he says, "Welcome to the Estelgath, new neighbors. I have the distinct pleasure of handling your orientation." And he like kind of glances at the monster that he just stepped out from behind. He says, "I should inform you that this is not optional for any of us."
Just nodding at him, like, go on.
Do I get the impression that he's a guard or a prisoner?
He looks like a prisoner, very much so.
Okay.
All self-governing down here.
Partially.
He looks at you guys and he says, "My name is Parsons." He says, "You can tell me your name or you can refrain. Doesn't make any difference to me. I've got to do what I've got to do, and then my obligation," he kind of like glances at the monster again, "will be fulfilled, and we can all be on our way."
Gesture, like, we're here for the seminar.
He says, "All right, well, let's begin then. Let me be the first to welcome you to the neighborhood." And he begins walking. As you move through this space, you see that you are in functionally an identical, like, grand hallway throne room as when you jumped into the hole before. You see that there are doorways just like there were before you jumped into the hole. The distinct difference being that like none of these have doors in them. At the periphery of this chamber, you see that they're just people moving back and forth. Nobody seems to be paying you guys that much mind. You'll get like an occasional glance, but people, humans, elves. You see an orc, you see what you think might be a furbolg. Like all shapes and sizes are just kind of like moving to and from this chamber. As Parsons leads you back kind of the way you came down that hallway that led to the elevator chamber that you came up. And as you walk, he says, "A couple things you should know about the Estelgath." He nods his head towards like the monster that is like floating along behind you guys. He says, "The wardens ostensibly keep the peace here, guards from the outside can tap into them, take control, and we can interact with them through that. But when the guards are not present in them, they sort of follow a pre-programmed set of instructions. We call it patrol mode. It's always helpful to remind new inmates that the wardens are here to maintain order, not to keep you safe. They'll stop anything from getting too out of hand if it's done in their presence when they're in patrol mode. But I promise you, you are not going to like the way they do it. Best to stay on their good side. You'll learn the ins and outs, given enough time. You head down this hallway. He says, the part of the Estelgath that we're in right now, it's the fortress part. No doubt you saw it on your way in from the real world. We call this part halls. It's the same here, we assume, as it is on the outside. Chambers, hallways, parts of this fortress. Halls is maintained by the more powerful factions. Till you get your bearings here and sign yourselves up with a crew or a faction, I suggest you keep clear here. It'll be safer for you. He says, the Crimson Talon currently holds halls. Don't cross them and you won't have any problems. You reach the end of this hallway towards the chamber where the elevator was. Here you see that there is no elevator. There's just a open hole, like a shaft that leads like down into the darkness. He leads you around this to another set of doors that would have been behind you when you came in here. He brings you through, and he says, this is what's known as the battlements. And as you guys exit, you find yourselves not on like the precipice of this fortress, like looking out over the sheer rock face as you saw when you were in like the overworld, but you find yourself walking out onto like a large, rugged but relatively flat plaza. You see that there are ramshackle structures built out of salvaged materials, scraps of wood, pieces of canvas, and various other like odds and ends and junk. You see that there are tents and covered stalls. You look, and you see that to your left and to your right there are portions of this area where it seems like part of this space has been cultivated and like crops are being grown here. You can hear that you can't see. You hear these sounds of like livestock from somewhere. You walk out into what is very much, though it is dirty, it is dingy, it is sort of like slapshod put together. You walk not into a prison, you walk into like a bustling outpost or a like town center. You can see that this has been like excavated out of the side of the mountain, and it like curves away from you around the stone topographical formation itself in either direction. And Parsons says, battlements has been carved out of the rock face for as long as people have been prisoners here in the Estelgath. He says, one thing you need to understand is this is a prison because there is no way out of here. They put you in here and they forget about you. They don't care if any of us live or die. That's on us. People that have lived here have made something of this place. Battlements is where the lifeblood of the Estelgath comes from. He says, the harvesters produce goods, they farm, they feed people and keep them alive. I will tell you this now, and you had best take it to heart. If you start trouble on the battlements that puts in danger the food that keeps people alive here, trade that keeps people going, the best you can hope for is that you are dead before they throw you over the side into the wastes. Do not fuck with the battlements.
That's fair.
He leads you kind of through this small courtyard. You see people of all races and genders and shapes and sizes kind of moving about their business. Nobody really pays you much mind. This warden continues to like hover along behind Parsons. You see that there are other similar creatures. They vary in sort of like shape and size a little bit, but they all have this similar distinctive feature that they like kind of float along, and like none of them have a normal top of a head. They have this like Mysterio dome thing. Parsons leads you to like the very edge where there is like a knee wall bit about waist height before the slope on the outside of this mountain. And he says, couple of things to know from here. He gestures back in the direction that you came, and he points up the slope of the mountain towards where the sort of tower that is topped with the observatory is. Here in this realm, you see that like the crystalline structure that was like making up that domed observatory is missing. It is just a twisted mass of like steel framework that has like partially collapsed in. You also see that from the top of this there is a like twisting, roiling tendril of like a green like luminescent mist is like coming up from the top of that observatory and like going into the sky, which as you look up you see that the sky now is not like a sky so much as it is like this like black sort of void of like nothingness, and this tendril of green energy like goes up and disappears. He says, that's the tower. You don't want to go to the tower. He says, it is prohibited for inmates to go there. It is kept under guard by wardens at all times. And he says, and people that go to the tower, well, they don't come back. Well, they don't come back as people anyway, if you get my meaning. And he like nods his head towards the warden that is like hovering near him. He turns back around and gestures over the side of this like precipice here. And he says, if you look down from here, you'll see what we call the estates. And as you look over the side, you see that like more pockets have been carved out of the side of this mountain, and there are smaller plateaus, there are pathways and openings carved in the side of this rock, and there is essentially like a ramshackle, poorly organized, discombobulated settlement built into the side of this structure. He says, these are the estates. He says, for everybody that isn't part of one of the factions that have claimed the halls, people have been digging their homes and making a place for themselves to live out of these rock walls for hundreds and hundreds of years. My suggestion, once we're done here, you make your way on down there, you find a nook or a cranny that's not currently occupied, and you make yourself comfortable. The estates are not a bad place to live out the rest of your life, as far as this place goes. He points you guys back towards like the hallway that you came out of. He said, through halls you can get to pretty much anywhere you need to go on any side of the rock formation. The only rules that you need to know: keep your head down, don't cause trouble, don't ruffle the wrong feathers. I would recommend that you link yourselves up with a faction just as soon as you can. And unless you turn out to be a bunch of real psychopaths, you won't have any trouble here. You just don't want to get sent to the slums. He kind of like looks at you guys and goes, questions? I'm required to take questions before I can conclude my obligation here.
Sure. Easy question. Does magic work in this place?
It does.
Where are the slums, and what are the requirements for being sent there? Just so I know where the line is.
He points down again, and you see, like, at the very foot of this stone structure of the where the Estelgath is built on, there are what appear to be like hovels built at the very base of this, level with the ground. As you look out at the ground, you see that there is, similarly to the above ground or the real world version of this place, like there is nothing in any direction. In the very distance, you see like the vague hint of maybe like some sort of a like very spiky, very unpleasant looking like topographical features like in the distance. But as far as you really are able to see, there is just like a barren wasteland of like cracked, fissure-filled nothingness between this structure and like as far as you can see in the horizon. These fissures are large and tall enough that like essentially it creates like an endless maze for miles in any direction from here. The slums are right on the border of these. You see that they appear to be like heavily fortified by like big barricades of like scrap and pointy objects and things like that. He points that out to you and he says, well, the slums is where you go if you prove to the people here that you can't exist in any kind of civilization. If you're a real piece of work, or if you cross the wrong people, play by the rules here and you'll be fine. Make a misstep, you might find yourself in the slums, and that is not a place you want to find yourself. We're not the only thing here in the Estelgath. The higher up, the more interior to the mountain you are, the safer you are. Down there, they gotta deal with the creatures. You don't want to go there.
Any of these creatures able to fly to get up here?
He kind of shakes his head. He says, by whatever mercy is left for any of our damned souls, no.
What faction do you belong to, Parsons?
He says, Me? I'm a scavenger.
Good to know.
One last quick question from me. In the estates, can we just kind of go pick a spot?
As long as ain't nobody living there already. People have been digging these places for themselves for a lot longer than any of them stay alive. You find one that nobody's already living in, it's yours for the taking.
And if someone tries to take what we found?
He looks at the warden that's like over his shoulder. He says, "We govern ourselves here mostly. Wardens, guards from the outside, they can take over them, operate as if it was their own body. But when they're not, gestures like now, they work on a predetermined set of instructions, you could call it. We call it patrol mode. They go around, they enforce the peace. They keep anybody from getting too out of hand. There ain't no way to explain except you'll have to learn what'll set them off, what won't. I'll give you the warning once, and if you're fool enough not to heed it, you ain't gonna last long enough for it to matter. You set one of these things off while they're in sentry mode by doing something unruly, it'll be the last thing you ever do. But make no mistake, they are not here to keep you safe. They are here to maintain order. And those that have figured out how to work around them will have no problem hurting you if they need to.
Well, do you have a moment to point us in the direction of a less populated area of the estates?
He like points you off in the direction that you see like from the battlements where like a stone ramp kind of lets down. He's like, head that way and start looking. It's the best I can tell you.
Anybody else? Questions, comments for our good tour guide here? I'd like to establish a place to sit before we get tired.
Yeah, let's find ourselves a shady spot. If you'll pardon the terrible joke.
Kind of like, be seeing you around. Good luck.
Thanks. Thank you, Parsons.
He kind of turns in the direction of the warden, which like is kind of like floating there, and it lets out this like and so it turns and then like floats away from the group of you, just sort of like meandering through the market. As it does, like Parsons fucks off.
Fair.
How's Rana doing right now?
She seems to have like centered herself now that you guys are back inside here.
Okay.
So I think Walter wants to go find a nook and then try to take some privacy and recover the item that was smuggled.
Okay. Make a survival check, everybody. Rana will help. Rogers will help.
Solid,
Rana will do so with advantage.
Solid 2.
14.
Not a nat 1 though.
Okay.
That 20 for 23.
Okay.
22.
22.
As we're making our way, Alar's carefully cataloging faces and
I'm looking for. I sincerely doubt I'm gonna find her,
Yeah,
but I'm
you don't
looking.
find your person.
Damn it! I knew I wasn't going to.
Walter's looking at rocks trying to like understand anything and like doesn't understand.
So with all those various perception checks or survival checks, you guys are able to find after about a half hour of like you descend down these sort of like spiral of this, where like if this was if the thing behind me was like the non spoopy world version of this, where you are is like it has all the same features, but like that mountain has been like excavated out to build like a small settlement into it. Essentially, you guys make your way through this. You kind of like keep an eye. You see that essentially people have like claimed these little like nooks and hovels and things like that. There's like some very minor decoration in some of these. You find a few that are empty, but like not super out of the way. It takes you quite a while to find one that like fits your needs, as most people's priority here is like, let me try and find a place that is like out of the way to kind of like claim. But eventually, between Zintris and Osrius, you guys like find one that is sort of decent. As you guys are like looking at people as you go down, nobody sees anybody they recognize. One of the things that you do see is that you see people of all ages, races, genders, all of that type of thing here. You see people that are old. You see people that are like middle-aged. You actually see like several fairly young individuals, like no like children, but like you see a few like teenagers, teenage people. And one of the things you notice as you're moving through this space is that there is decidedly a subset of the people here, and with those perception checks, you kind of notice that it is more heavily weighted towards like folks that appear to be older. There are people that are like monochrome, essentially. They're like, their skin is like gray or white. Their hair is white or black. Their eyes are like featureless, white or black. They look like they have like no color, essentially. You see humans, you see elves, you see orcs, half-orcs, gnomes, you see a furbolg. Like, it doesn't seem to be dependent on like race or anything else that you could tell. Like, there is a subset of people here that are like colorless. They just seem to be going about their business like the same as anybody else. Eventually, you find your way to like a space that is essentially like a single room domicile carved into the side of the rock off a smaller plateau that can contain several other of these domiciles, a few of which are occupied, some of which are empty. You find your way to one that is like big enough for you comfortably to get into, and you guys are all able to kind of like pile in there.
Once I can reacquire my stone, however that happens, I would like to try to expand our living quarters.
Okay.
I'd like to try to excavate one of the walls out.
Okay. Well, kind of like that is ostensibly going to take some time
Oh yeah.
because you have to get your stone back out via pepper extraction.
Yep.
So like while you're working on that, like, kind of what are the rest of you doing?
Okay, Zintris. Presuming she's still alive, and we're going to operate under that assumption.
Yep.
How do you think she would play being in here?
I don't
Head
think-
down, or offer useful information to
Nope.
to someone for...
Neither. She's not here in this general group. They wouldn't let her run loose, and I motioned to like everyone. How dangerous would a general be in this place?
Conversely,
she's held somewhere.
conversely, what good can she do? Or
Um,
bad can she do here?
Rana
There's
says,
no out.
Yeah, Rana says, I did not know of the general of which you speak, but I do know this of the Estelgath. There is nowhere that people are held.
Not even that tower.
She says, not in the sense that you are thinking of. She says, perhaps the butcher has an interest in her.
Yep.
If that is the case, she may not be alive anymore, but otherwise, it does not matter who you were before. When you are here, you are nothing. Everyone is equal.
Well, considering now that we're in this same plane, I think I have a better shot at this, and I'm going to cast Sending to Ukraine.
Okay, what are you saying?
I'm here. I have help. I'm sorry. Where are you?
There is a brief silence, and you hear in your mind, of course you are. You beautiful, beautiful fool. I have a friend here. Go to the battlements. Seek out a commotion.
Oh god. Parsons just told us to avoid trouble, and now we're gonna go look for trouble. Cool. Zintrus is just muttering to herself and starts running back up to the battle.
Taylor's gonna tackle her. No. Plan.
So Zintrus just goes to like run out. Walter swallows the second
Pepper. Just
diarrhea pepper. Like
For all the color the people that probably have been here a while don't have, Walter has gained color
Oh god.
in this place.
She said go to the battlements and seek out a commotion.
Okay, so
No.
they probably have like organized fights or something. That's probably the commotion.
Probably. But if she's now waiting for me right now, knowing I'm here, we don't wait.
I just didn't want you going alone, okay?
Then let's walk.
All right.
Walter, you stay here and shit your pants. See ya.
On it, boss. he's just like robe off to the side, like just like squatting down in a corner. Like
No, you
just
do that.
thumbs
You
up.
do that out of the hole where
Yeah.
we sleep.
Yeah,
Bro.
not in the room.
I assume there was a regular bathroom in this place.
No.
for sure not.
No, it's a pit like towards where the other.
It's definitely a pit.
I'm
Just pit.
trying to calmly walk, but the fact that it worked and it's the first time I've heard her voice after like assuming she's been dead or being tortured this whole time, like I'm clearly like trying to be cool, but like
Okay, so Walter is currently trying to extract magical artifacts through his prison pocket via
I hate that you're saying that so many times this thing. I hate it.
God, we don't
Is
do
that
like
the title of
episode
this
titles.
episode?
Yeah, we don't do titles of the episode anymore. But this would
I'm not
100%
calling it
would have
that.
been prison
No,
pocket.
I have been doing
This
episode
is
titles and
prison
you're not
pocket
calling it
dimension.
that. No.
Oh.
No.
Okay, so
It is a prison pocket dimension.
Okay, who's coming with us?
I mean, it doesn't need to be a big group. We just gotta go find her.
Well, it's better that we all probably somewhat stay together and then split up, since anything can kind of go down. So
Well,
I'm
Walter's
just
gonna be
go
here for a good
with-
2 hours probably. So you
Rogers-
guys can like I'll hang out
Roger
with
says
Rogers and Rana.
Roger's like, I'll not that I want to, and I promise you all deeply owe me a debt that can never be repaid. But I will stay here with Walter. He says, Rana, I assume you are going to refuse to stay here, both for obvious reasons and for the reasons that these chuckle fucks should not be allowed to go traipsing around here without somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing. And Rana says, yes, that is correct. And he goes, okay, so me and Walter will stay here, and then we will never speak of what happens again for as long as any of us live. And you
Rogers,
people
hold my
go figure.
hand.
He said,
It's
no,
coming."
I will not do that. I will not do that. As the rest of you go do your thing. We'll be here when you get back.
Thank you, Rogers. Brom?
I'll go. I'm certainly not staying here with
It's just
Poopy
me.
Pants McGillicuddy.
Oh.
All right.
You got extra syllables.
Then eyes open and nice and casual.
All right, you guys.
Diarrhea Dan, that would have been better.
Diarrhea Dan.
You head back.
Are you going to be doing this the entire time until we get to the battlements? Just new nicknames for him?
He's just writing them at
Leaky Anus Philip.
right down
I
on
don't know.
in his head.
Oh my gods.
Oh god.
The lucky leaky.
You guys walk for a while. Eventually, Rana goes, brown trouser, Hauser. Anyway, we should go.
Yes.
We should go to the markets.
Rana, I say this. I hate you and I love you for that one.
She's an angel. A godsend.
I have
Rana is the coolest person here, but right now my heart hurts a little.
I have traveled with Rogers for too long. It is
Is it Rogers or is it us?
no, it is definitely Rogers.
It's definitely Rogers.
That's
Now,
fair.
listen. I know that your relationship with him started with us being opposition, and
There we-
you guys murdering him to death and then bringing him back to life. But you are deeply the same people. But I wish not to discuss defecation
The
jokes any
atrocity
longer.
factor.
We are approaching the battlements.
Everyone looks sad.
Make an insight check, everybody, as you guys like move around the battlements. Are you all staying together in one group once you get to these sort of like markets? Are you splitting up?
We should probably stay. That's my suggestion.
Yeah. Alar's not ready to
6.
cut loose
Okay.
yet.
18.
16.
Just
Yeah,
yelling
yeah.
out there and just 6.
I was
Okay,
real excited.
That is a 20, not natural. 30,
Whoa. Okay. 20.
I got an 8.
Oz knows how to read a room.
Apparently.
Okay. Oh, I guess I should roll for Rana. Whoop. Hey, natural 1. Okay. She doesn't see shit. She's having a deep and existential emotional moment dealing with the juxtaposition of like being back into this place and also y'all's toilet humor. So you guys move through the marketplace. Osrius, you are the first to notice as you guys spend probably about an hour like wandering around the marketplace. Osrius, you notice something. You hear a voice that kind of like gets a little louder in anger, just on like the other side of this little like plaza of this market from where you guys are, and it catches your attention. You see that there is like a hooded figure standing in front of a stall that seems to be selling like flour based products, so like bread, flour, like food essentially.
Yeah.
You see this hooded person, they have like their hand extended, and you can see in their hand there is like a vaguely like green luminous glint in their hand as they're like holding it out towards the person behind the stall. And you key in as the person behind the stall says, I don't care what you're offering. We all know, as well as you do, the rules that were laid down. Anyone that helps her is as good as she is. If you're too stupid to know that, I don't care. But I will not be starving alongside you in the slums. Get away from me!
I lean over. I lean over to Zintra and be like,
I
"Pistols,
yeah,
light
I
tap."
look. I look over.
And I'm gonna look over to Rana too, and just kind of be like, looking over at the market and everything, and kind of looking back. Kind of like, I guess, I feel like I have like a bit of, with Rana to be like, you got anything to say about this before we go itching?
She kind of looks. She seems intrigued by what's going on. The only thing when you like make eye contact with her, the only thing she says is like kind of under her breath. She like kind of glances around. You follow her gaze. You see that she looks. There are several wardens like meandering about this market. These like monstrous, like deformed
Right.
humanoid creatures like floating through the markets. They're not really paying anybody any mind. She glances towards them and she kind of like says to you. She says, "Whatever we do, be very careful."
Careful. And then, kind of like, I'm guessing, Brittany can hear that too.
Yeah,
Like,
sure. I
I'm
mean, yeah, she
sorry,
kind of says that like you guys
she
are
heard that too.
clustered up, right?
I'm
It-
just looking for
Yeah.
anything at this point. Like
Well, I think with, and
not
at that point,
potions.
I think at that point, like, I would like to try to get closer with like relaying, like, whatever we do in here, or whatever happens, like, let's just make sure we talk to each other before we pop off or anything pops off,
Yeah,
because it
just
seems like it's already tense. So
Yeah.
Rana says, "The tops of their heads will begin to glow before they are triggered into
frenzy.
combat mode." She says,
Good.
"If you see this," she says, "lay prone, put your hands up, do something to show that you are non-threatening. They will not attack you."
So if the alarm goes, hit the ground, put your hands up.
She nods.
Good to know.
Do I see Ukraine anywhere? Do I see any?
No, you
Do I see the
definitely,
person?
you
Do
definitely
I
do
see the person holding out the thing to the stall owner? Is it
definitely a
what do I
man.
a man?
Like kind of tattered robe, hood pulled over their head. You really can't see their features, but it's definitely like in the shoulders. A man, probably human. The build is a little bulky for like an elf or a half elf. They are faced away from you at the moment. You guys like you're kind of like moving towards them, right?
I kind of want to stay back a little. I want to see what.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to get involved if the wardens are there.
Okay, so
Like,
you're
I'm
just
trying to
in the
get up
vicinity.
hill.
You're keeping an eye.
I want to track him though through this crowd, and
Okay.
like he is now my
So
focus.
He hasn't not moved at this point. Like
Yeah.
this exchange, you like Osrius, you kind of overheard this. Osrius like tipped you off. Though you guys maybe didn't hear the exchange. Like when Oz points this out to you, you guys see that this like hooded figure is standing by this like merchant. And this merchant has definitely like got an aggressive stance. The hooded figure stands still for a few moments. You see the like their hand like closes over this glowing whatever is in their hand, and they like return it to like a inside their cloak, and they are still for a few moments, and you kind of like see their head go this way and this way, and then you see sort of like they kind of reel back like this, and from behind, like from like the 3/4 profile, you see them go and they spit directly into the face of the merchant who just like yelled at them, and then turn around and begin to walk away. As that merchant like gets like a loogie just like into their face, they like
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh,
get him! And two like big dudes come from like somewhere in the crowd and begin to move towards this hooded individual. They move up beside him. They one of them like approaches him and like grabs this person by the shoulder and like wheels him around so that they are then like face to face. This person is still faced away from you. Are you guys doing anything at this point?
I
think
might.
we should.
I'm not getting involved.
I'm not
I
getting involved.
No.
What are you saying, Adam?
I think if we have a way to break this up quietly without
Yeah, that's kind of
feeling
my
a presence.
my thought right now is like I don't want this to pop off, and I want to keep track of this guy, and I don't want him getting the crap beat out of him or killed by the wardens. 'Cause I think he's the one that's going to lead me to her. So, crap.
So there are like two dudes who have moved in,
Yeah.
and the merchant are like the direct conflictors to this
Mm-hmm.
person. There is like at this point, as the spitting and the yelling and like everybody in the square has like stopped and is now looking at this altercation.
Is anyone else getting involved, or is it just the merchant, the two
Right
guys?
now, it
and-
is just, and the merchant is just behind his stall.
Yeah.
Right now, it is just the hooded figure and like the two thugs that like closed on him.
The merchant, is he? What is elf, human?
Human, as far as you can tell, though he does have like a little bit of a grayish tinge to him.
The thugs.
The thugs, one of them is a half orc, the other one is a furbolg.
Oh boy.
I don't want this guy getting the crap beat out of him. I don't want the wardens going active.
So the half orc like has him by the arm and has like whipped him to face him. The furbolg is still like several
What is
steps
this-
back. It's
What
not.
is this guy doing?
I'm giving you guys like the opportunity to like take a reaction before like this progresses.
Really quick. This is. I need to know if he's the one I need to talk to, but I don't want to draw attention to us.
They said look for commotion.
Motion.
Well,
I'm thinking this is the guy that takes us to Ygraine, but if he gets the crap beat out of him or killed by a warden, I'm not going to find her.
yeah. So
I'm gonna cast message really quick to the guy who just got grabbed by the bruiser.
Okay.
Are you here on behalf of my friend?
Okay. So your action is to cast the message. All of this, essentially to like set the scene here, all of this is going to take place within the span of like 6 seconds. So like you are able to do this for sure. But that's like the only thing that's going to happen here. Because here's how this is going to unfold. You, the human, the half orc thug like grabs this guy, spins him around face to face. You like cast your message to him. As you're like casting this message to him, all of this is happening simultaneously. The half orc like gets this guy turned like to his like they're facing each other. The half orc is facing like towards you, looking at him. The guy has his back to you, hood up. You like begin casting this message. In that moment, you see like the cock of a head, like a little bit, and then this hooded figure. The half orc has like one arm on the shoulder. This hooded figure like puts their arms like on the half orc shoulders, and then pulls them in and fully headbutts the half orc like full in the face. Even from where you guys are, like 30 feet away, you hear like the crunch of this orc's like nose fucking shattering, and like blood comes out. And he goes like, "You motherfucker!" And he turns and like fully hauls off and punches this guy square in the face. You see this figure like makes no attempt to dodge, like is punched in the face, and like immediately after like the headbutt punch, everybody in the plaza drops onto their knees and puts their hands like this.
Okay, do it
Rana
immediately.
does the same, like goes
Yep,
like
do it
this.
immediately.
Sailor is flat on the ground.
Yep.
I don't get a response to the message.
This is all happening very
Yeah.
fast.
Okay.
So
6
like
seconds.
you guys like pooh, you drop.
Yep.
The punch happens. This figure like spins towards you. You guys see like the outline of like a nose, like a jawline, a little bit of like a white scraggled beard, and like this sort of like of a grin, and they turn back and like gut punch this half orc. In the courtyard, you see the like Mysterio heads of the wardens begin to like pulsate magenta with this light, and one of them like floats in, and you hear this sort of like, and the half orc like turns and begins to back away. You see the human uppercuts him again as he like backs away, and that warden goes like, and the like the center of its head glows like bright magenta, and a beam coalesces and fires at these two guys fighting. Right as that beam fires, the human who just like punched the half orc on like who's like now on his feet like loops an arm under his arm and turns him and basically puts him between himself and the beam. The beam hits the orc, the half orc in the center of the chest, and he goes like, and like turns into like dust, and is fucking like
Snap.
disintegrated. The second the beam hits him and he begins to like disintegrate, the person in the hood lets him go, puts his hands on his head, and drops to his knees. The like motes of dust of this half orc like float away. The courtyard is dead silent. And Zintris, through your message you get back in your head, yup.
That's great.
I'm waiting for the sirens and everything. I'm not
After
doing
about 15 seconds, everybody like slowly begins to get to their feet. The wardens like kind of just continue their meandering float through the crowd. The hooded figure gets up. He and the shopkeeper like kind of exchange glances, and he begins to walk sort of away from the crowd, and everybody like parts around him as he like proceeds through this crowd.
Through the crowd, I'm not directly following him like a dumbass to make a target of myself with this guy, but I want to follow him from a distance, like weaving through the crowd and like.
Okay.
Just follow where
Eventually,
he
he exits out of the main part of this marketplace. You guys kind of like following along behind him. He gets off of like a main thoroughfare and turns onto one of the like slopes that leads downwards towards the estates, and eventually potentially towards like the slums. And once you guys are out of like the main thoroughfare and away from all the action and kind of out of line of sight of people, you see this figure like ahead of you stops and turns and like waits along the like the border of this like pathway down and waits for you guys.
I stop for a second before we get too close to him because I know that I'm in like a weird headspace with all of this, and I'm like, I say to my friends, we just saw what happened. The guy wouldn't even sell bread to him. I don't know if you guys want to be attached to this.
We're attached already.
Yeah.
How? You haven't talked to him yet. Just let me talk to him.
We're gonna have to get out and, together eventually.
We will. But I don't want anyone seeing you guys with him. In case it's a chain reaction that we all get screwed and can't get food. I look at Rana as to confirm, like, will it screw all of you over if I talk to him and we all, like, my whole thought is, like, if we all talk to this dude and anyone sees us, word's gonna spread that we're talking to the guy who just got somebody else killed over bread.
She sort of like looks around, and she says, if we keep the conversation brief or move on from here, it should be fine.
Okay, then I let it go, but I'm just worried about screwing the whole group over.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Fine.
And as you guys like begin to move, she sort of says like, if we are here long enough for a withholding of food and resources to become a problem for us, we will have bigger issues to deal with. As you guys move down, you move up to this person. They kind of step out as you guys approach them. And as they step out into like the open, you guys gather around them. They draw back their hood. And he looks interest towards you as the only like female aside from Rana in your group. He kind of like looks at you, assuming you're like the source of the message in his head, and he opens his mouth and he goes, and Brahm, he looks right at you. Brahm, make an insight check.
Not great. 11.
Brahm, a human man looks back at you. His face is creased with lines of age. His hair is white and starting to thin a little bit on top. It is cut short. He has a grizzled beard. He looks at you and he says, "Holy shit. Brahm Repluck. Fancy seeing you here." And he grins, and in that grin, you then recognize him. A 20-plus years aged Randall Sinclair smiles at you and says, "It's been a long time, my friend."
I almost didn't recognize you, seeing as I'm not currently at the bottom of a river.
He grins. "We've got some things to talk about. Come on." And as Randall Sinclair, the last time we saw him in our campaign, he was throwing Brahm off of the broad bridge into the river to save him from getting pinched for a bank robbery. Leads you guys towards the ex-Brotherhood of Artanis General, mentor of Zintris, and Eniana Viren Ygraine. And that is where we'll end tonight's session.
Ooh.
Well, shit.
Well,
God.
Nice. Jeez, that episode was a year ago. No. Year and a half.
Almost. No, I don't remember. That was but.
That was quite some time ago.
God, that was. Yeah, that was a while back.
Yes, it was quite a while back. And years ago in campaign time, as a very young teenage Brahm, encountered this individual. Indeed, Randall Sinclair will lead you on towards Ygraine to see how the rest of this situation will unfold. That, of course, is the end of tonight's session. Next week is the Tuesday is the 14th of February. That is Valentine's Day. I have a wife who, shockingly, is not that into D&D, and thus would prefer we do something together instead of me playing Dungeons and Dragons on the internet with a bunch of nerds. There's no accounting for taste, I suppose. But we are going to be off next week for like sort of the Valentine's Day holidays, so that I can do stuff with my wife. My friends all can do things with their various significant others, or do whatever the hell else they want. And we will be back the following week with Fools again. So the next episode of Requisite will be a direct continuation of tonight's episode. And then the week after that, we'll be back with the Pirates, and so on and so forth until the inevitable heat death of the universe. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I did not pay much attention to chat. I know there was some stuff going on in chat. I'm sure Dogs for Life was with us, etc., etc., all of the people who are usually here. Thank you as always. Thank you guys as always for joining me as players. And thank you to our sponsors, Little Dragon Corp and Cardboard Castle Games. Be sure to give them a gander if you have any need for any of the fine services they provide. And of course, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, do all of the things to Proficiency Bonus here on Twitch, on YouTube, on all of the places that you need to go to make sure that you do not miss any more Del Requisite or any of the other fine tabletop RPG content that Proficiency Bonus produces. I will stop talking now. That is it for tonight's session. I love you. Good night.